Tune into the final take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Welcome back to yet another exciting edition of the Final Take with me, Seni MK Marina, live from our virtual studios here in Seattle. Today, my guest for the show is Mr. John Mendy, the president of the Union of Gambian Scholars in North America and a PhD scholar in political science. We will be talking about the higher education and diaspora expertise for Gambia's democratic and economic advancement. Welcome to the show, Mr. John Mendy. John is talking to me live from Ohio in Athens. John, welcome to the Final Take with me, Seni Marina.
Thank you so much, Seni. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Mr. John, it's great to have you on this Final Take this morning. John, you have built an impressive academic and professional career from studying at the University of the Gambia to pursuing a PhD at Kent State University and specialized program at the institutions like Harvard and the University of Michigan. Can you share what inspired you to pursue higher education and how your journey has shaped vision for the future of the country, the Gambia?
Yes, of course, I'm happy to say that I was born and raised in the rural Gambia, like so many Gambians, within a community where people are less privileged in terms of resources and development. But I have always had a dream of pursuing higher education in order to build my capacity to able to contribute to development of society, of course, advancement of my community, and also transformation of my life, and also reshaping of my mindset. Mm-hmm. So I stick to that goal, and I have a vision of who I want to be tomorrow, of course, in terms of career path. Of course, I wanted to be a diplomat and a scholar. So I wanted to be a practitioner and at the same time also a scholar as well, because I also noticed that there is always a gap between practice and the scholarly world. So I wanted to have one foot in practice, another foot in academia as well. So I judiciously pursued this career path, and that's what kept motivating me to build up my capacity, because you can only give what you have.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service to the nation. John, you as the president of the Union of Gambian Scholars in North America, how do you see higher education empowering Gambian youth to contribute to national development, particularly in a globalized world?
Yes, I think higher education is at the center of development, and any nation that wants to develop, it must have to prioritize education. Simply because that's where people are groomed, that's where people are trained, that's where people are shaped, that's where minds are also shaped. So the country needs people in different fields, be it in the field of journalism, in the legal profession, in the vocational skills areas, you name them, in the sciences, in the natural sciences, in medicine, the list goes on. So you need people to able to serve in this different capacity, in these different fields, because you need people that need to serve into these different critical areas, it is important to empower them through education so that you can able to unlock their potential so that they can able to contribute immensely to the development of the country. And I think that is what we are doing in the Gambia. Of course, yes, there are challenges in terms of facilities and the others. And my advocacy has ever been the diversification of our education system, like to make sure that we cater for the different potential of the people. In different fields, there must be higher education training to be able to develop people. Because one thing that you need to appreciate is that people are gifted differently. And because people are gifted differently, society also need different, it's like a community. You need a plumber, you need somebody who is an architect, to able to work together and you need somebody who is doing construction to able to have a complete house. So people must be potential must be recognized first, and people should be given the opportunity to develop their potential through higher education. So I feel like diversification of our education system is one very critical area. That's why I support the ideas of establishing specialized university, because I believe that people need to go to school by virtue, irrespective of their capacity and potential. They should be able to find a place at a university or at a college, where they can be trained in a specialized field. So I think when you do that, then you begin to have complete society and no sector is lacking behind. Now, the other thing with that is that after developing all these young people and resources, there's also one of the challenges as well, where as a result of globalization, the world has become a village and people no longer sit stationed at one place for the rest of their life. If they do, you may not have everybody doing that. So therefore, there are always a chances of people going out to explore. But globalization has turned a world to a small village whereby people can be in different parts of the world, yet still making impact. You can be in your room, like where you are right now, making impact in the Gambia. So that is the beauty of globalization, enhancing that interconnectivity of the world. And because of that interconnectivity of the world, we are here having this conversation. While you are in Seattle, Ohio, we are able to have a conversation with somebody in the Gambia. So how can we able to maximize this benefit of globalization in order to enhance our development and facilitate our development? That begs the question, how? So now, how are we going to approach it? We can approach it differently. But I may suggest that with globalization, we can use technology and able to have support in terms of maybe policy support, for example. Now, with globalization, there's a problem that we have, like the brain drain syndrome. The last time I had a conversation with the ambassador, and I was suggesting that the brain drain syndrome can be converted to a brain gain. So how are we going to convert it, thanks to the globalization, is to create a platform and spaces where people can able to interact and contribute. One, we are contributing, the diaspora is contributing, the scholars in the diaspora is contributing to remittance, which is super important and is helping our economy. But is that enough? No, we can do more than that. And what can we do? One is to contribute to policies, because policies are super important. They shape the national development initiatives. They define them, So the diaspora, I think, they can able to have an interface. And as I said, that is one of the things that we discussed the last time with the ambassador, that we can able to have, the diaspora can able to have an interface with the Gambian government, sectorial interface, for example. Like, for example, you have expertise who are scholars having an interaction with practitioners in RVTH to talk about certain policy issues that can help to elevate the situation. You can have practitioners in agriculture, in the fields of foreign policy, in the areas of security, in areas of different areas, whereby we can able to engage, the diaspora can able to engage practitioners at local level and then have an impact. But with that, we can able to elevate the countries from certain economic burdens, such as hiring consultants elsewhere. Since if you have, you can able to have free consultancy, for example, or literally free consultancy, whereby you can able to tap from the brain of the people. Apart from tapping, also, there are so many things we could do as a result of globalization. You can have people in the diaspora, like scholars in the diaspora, who are teaching at the university. You can just have your classes in your room and then teach and make an impact. Do mentorship program, contribute, go back and invest. So there's a lot of things that you could do irrespective of your geographical location.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. John, for that brilliant answer. For those tuning in, this is the final take with me, Seni Marena. Studio is John, Mendy, the president of Gambia Scholars in North America. Mr. John challenges like limited access to quality higher education and also brain drain. From your perspective, what specific policies or initiative could sustainable development?
Yeah, there are a lot of policy initiatives that can contribute to sustainable development. And one thing that I will suggest is that there is always 3 layers as far as policy is concerned. For me, there is an input and there is a box in between that input, and then you have the output. Now, the policy suggestions, the opinions, and others, be it expert opinion or whatever opinion, they goes into the box where the authorities are, for example, where the stakeholders are. That's where the conversation is. And once those conversations keep going on, you can able to channel the policy as to an output. And then the output is the implementation of the policy. Once you implement that policy, there's always what I would call reactions or impact or outcomes of these policies. This outcome turns again to become an input, like feedback through feedback mechanisms. Now, how? Let me be very practical here. For example, if there's a policy suggestion that we need to develop develop our health sector, for example. Now, the suggestion will be having a policies that gear toward building the infrastructure. But once you build the infrastructure, then they begin to talk about the resources. And once you get the resources, people will begin to talk about the quality of the resources. So there should be that ongoing conversation between policy makers and the community, who are scholarly community, and also even the local community as well, who has their input in the discussion that is ongoing. For me, we need to also look into our curriculum. Once we prioritize education in our national development in terms of planning, we should able to prioritize, look at our curriculum. Now, why do I think that curriculum is super important as far as my policy suggestion is concerned? Is that everything boils around education. Now, the type of people that you have, the capacity that they have, goes back to the type of training you give them. So for me, there are sometimes you have this mismatch between labor and the market. So first we need to make sure that we align our curriculum, our program, to our specific needs. And once we can able to align our curriculum to the specific needs that we have, then we can able to build a labor force that responds to the needs and aspirations of the people. Now, once you build this labor force that responds to the needs of the market, what you need to do is definitely to create incentive, for example. Academic research, for example. The academics should be able to work with the market. Like, for example, the UTG should be able to work with QCell. And they should be able to advise QCell that why they are not doing well in this area, based on their research. Through that, they can able to contribute, that kind of partnership will able to contribute fund. The UTG, for example, or the scholarly community can able to tap fund from that. And then also, what will QCell benefit from that? I'm using QCell as just a case example. What will they benefit from that? A market boost. So once you have this kind of partnership, then you can believe the research. It shouldn't be like there's that barrier need to be breached. That is the what the academic does and what the market demand. That kind of barrier need to be breached so that we can able to speak to each other. People in academia, their research should able to respond to the immediate needs of the people, so that they can able to fund their project, fund their research, but then they can able to work independently. And then of course, yes, we can able to establish partnership between universities, ministries, and private sector. There is always need for that partnership. And then, if I may also suggest something aside from
in order for them to absorb those students, because John, university graduates thousands of students, or hundreds of students every year.
Oh, the network.
Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. Very well.
Okay. No, I'm saying higher education is very crucial for the country's growth and development. And UTG as leaders in higher education in Gambia of change, they graduate 100 every year. Most of these, are not absorbed into the system. What do you think should be done, graduates to have jobs immediately completing their, bachelor or master's degree at the University of the Gambia? Because right now, that's the challenge. The market is not absorbing all these graduates, one reason or the other. How do, we bridge that gap in the Gambia?
I used to argue that the economy is at the center of development. Now, the problem is there must be investment in job creation. Now, like for example, I'm very practical sometimes here. Now, let's assume that we have local industries everywhere. A local industry in Brikama, local industry in Nyomi, local industry, different parts of the world. Sorry, I said different part of the country. Like you look at what is viable, like agriculture, for example.
Of the country.
Like if you go to certain parts of the combos during the raining season, during the mango season, for example, you see a number of mangoes that have been wasted. Like for example, if we had a factory in Sifo, for example, and it's able to turn those mangoes to juice, for example, you will definitely employ people. In that community, and also these graduates. Some of them will be in HR, some of them will be advising the company, legal advisors. Some will take up other jobs, for example. Now, if you have also, apart from those processing factories, for example, it is not complicated. It's very easy. In Switzerland, that is what they do literally. Like if you go to every canteen, you see a local factory that has their warehouse. The market women, for example, in the Gambia, women will go to the garden. I say women because they dominate the sector. They produce all these onions and other, but they got spoiled. They don't have a warehouse. But if you have a warehouse, for example, you have a local factory within that area, you boost their economy. You do not only boost their economy, but you create jobs, opportunity for the people, for the local people and the graduates as well. So that is the dimension we have to move into. And then also, we need to invest in technical and vocational areas as well. We should be able to have people that are like the roads we are building should have been built by our engineer. So the money stays in the country. If you have all these monies, for example, you take loan, for example, and build a road, but in the loan you take to build the road, you hire the experts outside from that country, for example, that you take the load from because you don't have the capacity, and hire the employees and get all the resources, buy all the resources you use for that development from that country. What will that country benefit apart from that road exactly? Apart from that infrastructure, which I don't downplay, but then imagine having the engineers who builds that road and having all the laborers and the machines, that assemble those instruments and orders that they used to build it. The money stays. So you address the question of capital flight, So, but then if you don't have, then you create jobs as well, So I think that is the dimension that we need to start thinking about, so that we can promote our local industry. My advocacy have always been for us to promote the local industry, because our industry is very vulnerable to external shock. Like what happened in the COVID, like it was very hard for people, because we depend hugely on the external world, which is not bad, but then you have to balance it. You have to make sure to prioritize your local industry by protecting them.
Yeah. No, John. Just to not to cut you, most of the. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So once you have this local industry and they protect them,
I'm saying not to cut you, not to cut you short. Most of the time when there is projects that supposed to change the life and livelihood with Gambians, what you see that they much on foreign aspects, you see they will think Gambian scholars can do better, but why do you think that even our own government don't trust in local? What do you think is the cause of this? Has to come into trust. Do they believe in Gambian expertise, or why are they bringing in consultant outside to do work that our own people can do, who are highly?
I think for me, is we need to have a policy,
John,
and yes, I think we need to have a policy, and the policy should prioritize the local expertise. The policy that prioritize locals. Let me put it that way. Now, if you search for a particular talent and you do not get it within, it is okay to sort the talent outside, which is normal. Everybody does that. Even with that, there are some control mechanisms. What you do is to make sure that you create a space whereby there's a transfer of knowledge. Now, if you hire the consultant or the expert outside, in their TOR or part of that agreement should include a space whereby there is some form of knowledge transfer or skill set transfer, if you want. Now, so if you begin to do that, then you are prioritizing the local. That is, anything that comes in, you first look for the local first. And if you do not have them and you can develop them, you develop them. But in a situation whereby you cannot develop them and hire them outside, part of that agreement should be to transfer knowledge. So by the time you hire them and they serve once, you may not necessarily need them another time when you want their services. So once we do that, because the whole idea is to make sure that you do not only create wealth, but you make sure that the wealth stays. One of our biggest problem is capital flight. Like everything goes out, like the money goes out. We have project, it goes out. And there is some accountability. That the governance part of it comes into play. People should be accountable for whatever that they do, the project that they implement. They should be accountable. The meetings that they attend. Like, for example, you cannot have a project and 75% of the resources goes into the officials, and then literal 20% or 25% goes to the community. It doesn't make sense, or goes to the project. They keep buying things like mobility, buying cars, buying things that are not relevant, So for me, I think that there should be transparency as far as the projects are concerned, and there should be accountability. And once we have policies that respond not just the need on the people, but prioritize locals, we can able to hold anybody who is implementing their project in the name of the state or in the name of the community responsible for whatever that they does.
Yeah. Absolutely. John, scholars has, play and continue to play a very important role in shaping the development of their respective countries. So how can Gambian scholars, both home and abroad, play a more
Oh, the network cuts at some point.
John, are you there?
Yeah, very well. Can you repeat that question, please? I think there is some breakdown.
Yeah, we are. I don't know. We are facing internet issues. Even myself, sometimes you are caught. You're going on and off, so I can hear your answers very well. I don't know. It will be poor, unfortunately, but I hope you can hear me now.
Very well, very well.
Can you hear me now? Okay, my question is, let me repeat it so that you can hear it very well. Okay, I say academic scholars often bridge theory and practice. How can Gambian scholars, both home and in the diaspora, play a more active role in shaping public policy and addressing pressing issues like youth employment or governance issues? Governance, yeah.
Yes, I think, let me start from employment and then I move to governance. I think oftentimes scholars always limit themselves in the classroom. I think it's high time we get out of the classroom. What I mean by get out of the classroom is that we can still be in the classroom, but have another foot to the community, because the community needs us. The role I believe that one of the most important reasons, or what distinguishes you from any other person or any other profession as a scholar, is the fact that you go through certain rigorous training that help that helps your critical thinking to able to have an impact not just on your life, but the life of others. Now, not only the life of any other person, but also the community that you are from. So there is that idea of give and take, like the community help you, mold you by educating you, and then after that you need to make an impact. So I think scholars should begin to think about job creation. I think the business of job creation is not just for the government alone. The government has a critical role to play, and we cannot downplay that, either in terms of policies and in terms of even participating in the market. I encourage a situation where the government also participate in the market. I'm not saying this to say that, to suggest that. I'm not suggesting that the government should create unfavorable competition ground, whereby they take advantage of the market against the ordinary citizen. But then there are critical sectors where the government can come in. There are also sectors that that could be complemented, and where I think the scholars and any other citizen with capacity should able to venture in. We should able to develop the attitude of creating something that make an impact, not just publishing. Of course, it's good, but not just producing knowledge, but try to test this idea. If you're an agriculturist, test the ideas by having an agricultural farm, for example, and then see what works. If you're an architect, be a consultant, have your farm, do architectural job, for example, create a small company, for example, and expand. So this is we should also be business oriented, not be very theoretical. Once we are like that, I think it will work. And from the government, and I think government should able to, there's a reason why universities are built. There's a reason why every corner you go to in the country, there's a primary school, there's a junior school, a lot of money is going into education. The next question the government should ask is, after all this investment, after all the investment we put into this, through the hard-earned taxes of the ordinary people who are struggling, what can this group of people do for country? Once we begin to ask this question, and then we also ask this question at our individual level, then we can able to see the gaps where we should able to come together and cooperate. There is need for that cooperation. The scholarly community should able to work with practitioners. should be able to go to their community and be part of the problem solvers and not problem pointers, not just problem pointers.
John, are you there?
Very well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very, very well. Are you hearing me?
My next question is University of the Gambia. You have served as an adjunct lecturer at the UTG. What do you see as the university set to become up for innovation and leadership in West?
Oh, there's a breakdown of communication somewhere. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible?
John, did you get my question?
Yeah, I lost your question. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you lost it. I think we are having some trouble with internet connection issues. Very strange, but we will try to maximize the opportunity we have, before the internet connection stabilize. It's very strange that challenges, connecting and hearing each other clearly. But let me repeat my questions once. TG, what do you see as the university's potential to become hub for innovation leading, and what challenges must it overcome first to get the future of a lot of young people who are doing, great stuff globally? But when it comes to Gambia, the impact is not hugely felt like other universities, but the products are doing wonders in foreign countries like yourself. So what challenges must it overcome to get there and have the impact?
Yeah, I think I don't know whether.
Do you get the question now, John?
I think I get the question. Hard from the other side. Am I being audible now?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. I'm saying you serve as an adjunct lecturer at the university, and what's the potentials of the university to be a hub for innovation and leadership in West Africa or the world? And what challenges must the university embrace to overcome in order to get there?
I think one word: funding. Resources. I think resources are very important. I think we really need to invest in the university because, to be quite honest, most of the professors in the University of the Gambia are underpaid. And it's not just the University of the Gambia, it's literally all sectors. But let's put the university into context. You have people that are working at the university, but they're struggling financially, economically, they're struggling. You see, the issue of retaining people also come with motivation, come with incentive as well. I'm not saying everybody should leave because the incentives are not good enough, but then it's important we frankly talk about the problem. Now, funding is one of the major problems that affect institutions across the board in the country. But then funding does not emerge from the blue like that. You create it. we create the wealth. Now, I think the UTG, one of the challenges that they have, that is incentive as well. I think there are numerous problems. It's not just the UTG, it's across many institutions. So we realize that many times when people have better opportunity, they tend to leave, which is not good for the institution. You have all these smart people, they leave. Like, for example, you have somebody receiving a stipend as a student elsewhere, making more money than a professor. So those push-pull factors are there. Now, for example, if you
that is very demotivating. Yeah,
it's very demotivating. If you fund the institutions, that is one thing, and now you raise the bar. You go into the well-trained professors. They will come. You understand? They will come all around the world. Not only the Gambians in the diaspora. The Gambians in the diaspora will come, but we'll also have people in the sub-region and other parts of the world that will come, because they feel there is something that is pulling them to the institution, which is those incentives. Now, once those incentives are there, they encourage the people to come. Now, when the demand is high, when the demand is high and the supply is low, then that's when you can able to use your means to get the brightest people. Like, for example, if you have if you open up application and you have like more than hundreds of qualified people, you will definitely go for the most qualified ones. And that's how you attract the substance. And when you attract substance, because there are incentive, it motivates them to stay. So you see good professors, sometimes they come, before you know it, they leave. So many people are leaving. So we need to invest, because education is at the center. So when we create this incentive, when we talk about funding, sometimes we say it's a poor country, is what? For how long will you be poor? We got independent the same time with Singapore. Some of these Asian tigers, they invested in education, and that's what get them to where they are today. So if we got independent with Singapore under the same context and environment and under development, if they can be where they are today, we don't have any justification. So we need to invest there. That's why I suggest earlier when I was reacting to one of your questions, I said there's need for partnership between the public and private sector, between the university and also other private sectors. Some of these private sectors, they need data, they need information, they need somebody to do the research. So they can create projects whereby they can partner with them. They give them the money, they give them the knowledge, and the knowledge gives the company the money. So those kind of partnership is what's going to generate wealth. And those endowment funds that could be created purposely to help the institution, even alumni can able to support, who are financially stable. We can go into other things. For me, sometimes I have so when I look at the state and I look at wealth of the state, the economy of the state, I see the state should transcend beyond being a tax collector. I think the state should be able to invest. Universities should be able to invest.
Base economy.
They should be able to invest.
Gambia has always been a tax-based economy, and we have not felt development, like other countries that are not tax-based economy. So, John, I don't want to cut you short. You, as the president of the Gambian Scholars in North America, you guys have a very crucial role to play, because most of your members are highly skilled, highly trained. Just yesterday, your organization celebrate one of your members, Dr. Diba, who is appointed as a assistant professor in mathematics at the Coastal University of Georgia. So what role can you guys play in future to ensure that these highly qualified members are absorbed back home in the Gambia to take charge of higher education, especially University of the Gambia? I see a couple of weeks ago, you and your team pay a courtesy call on the Gambian ambassador in the United States, and I understand you guys has a discussion. Do you discuss issues like this, how to transfer highly skilled members from your Gambian scholars here to go back home and contribute to the development of our country? It saddens me, because every time I use my platform to celebrate Gambians who are doing amazing stuff, academically, and these are Gambians, but go back to our country, development, it's still stagnant. And you ask yourself, what are Gambians doing to develop their country? Is there any plan, to explore how you can, partner with the government to ensure that these people are highly motivated to go back home to contribute towards the development of our dear country?
Yes, we have. Let me start from the executive level. We have discussed that at union level, and that is one of the reasons why this union was created, because there are many reasons that led to the formation of this organization, which is a non-profit registered organization in the U.S. that is spearheading, leading, taking charge of the leadership role as far as scholars in the U.S. and Canada is concerned. But one of the motivations for this union is to make sure that we do not only make impact here, but we make real impact at home. One, to mobilize this community so that we can able to contribute. That is one of the ways. And when we went to the embassy, in fact, we have discussions ongoing and correspondence being sent to institutions that I don't want to mention here right now, but we are working on those partnerships back home so that we can have that engagement with universities at home, particularly the UTG, which is a state university. So that is one thing. And at government level, we have plans. When we went to the embassy, one of the items in our agenda was to make sure that we have interface, what we call an interface between the Gambian scholars here and the Gambian government through their different sectors, so that we can begin to have policy conversations and dialogue. And from those conversations, we can able to generate recommendations and able to work on the implementations. So it starts from somewhere. And that conversation is ongoing. The ambassador welcomed the idea. And then we are planning to have another meeting again and see how we are pushing those agendas. So there are ongoing efforts in order to do that. And there are also plans in which we are trying to work on that. When people go back home, for either on vacation or whatever, they should be able to organize some of seminars or even have the chance to teach, based on the cooperation that we may establish. There's ongoing efforts, of course, towards that end, and we hope that it will be well received at home.
John, we have also seen brain drain. A lot of highly skilled Gambians who come to West for education finally decide to stay. You highlighted that it's because of lack of incentives, lack of encouragement, or the environment. How do we bridge this gap, looking at the dangers of high brain drain that is affecting our country right now? How do we bridge this gap? What needs to be done to ensure that Gambians who are highly educated go back and serve their country in areas of science, technology, innovation? Recently we have seen a lot of women in STEM doing amazing. Just a few days ago, we profiled a young Gambian who would be the first Gambian woman astronaut. He is going to the space, and this is a Gambian, unprecedented. We also highlighted a Gambian lady story just 2 days ago, who is among 6 most highly educated Africans, unprecedented. But go back to Gambia, as I highlighted, the impact is not felt. And you people have a bigger role in that aspect. What should be done to encourage that these people get back to home and serve their country? I know it's not easy living highly paid jobs here and go for a low incentive back home. Are you inculcating a sense of nationalism or sense of patriotism in your members also, despite the fact that what the West will offer them, their home country might not be able to offer them those kind of high incentives?
Yeah, I think when I was talking about the incentive, I was actually talking from an institutional point of view. How can institutions help to retain some of their potential back home? And sometimes the motivation transcends financial motivation. But if I'm speaking from my own capacity as a Gambian and also as a president, the chief servant, as I always call myself, of this union of scholars, I think what we need to understand that it's not always about the money. And I don't think if you want to make the money, or if the motivation is only money, as I used to tell my colleague, there's no point acquiring all these accolades. You don't need to get all these degrees.
Yeah.
If it's money that you're going to look for, why do you need to even take a loan of that may cost maybe millions of dollars, of millions, just to educate yourself and then look for employment? I think for me, education transcends beyond making money. Of course, you are human, you have a family, you want to take care of yourself, and all those things are primary needs and they're important to you. But I don't think people go to school to make money. The 4 years you spend at your bachelor's level, that money is enough starting capital to start a business that can make you wealthy. Before your colleague get a master's or a PhD, you would have been one of those richest people in town. But you take this route to give back to community, to save the world, to be part of that conversation that make an impact on the life of the people. A scholar never dies. The reason why I think a scholar never dies, but your knowledge, the books you write, the materials, the knowledge you share, the platform like this you come to and have a conversation with a highly trained journalist like Marena, in a way that has an impact on the ordinary life of somebody in my village. That's a motivation for you to go to school. That is like, for me, that is the real
students you inculcate knowledge.
Yeah. So for me, I think if I may seize this opportunity to talk to scholars wherever they are, whether in North America or in Europe or in Africa or even in the Gambia, I think we owe it to the country, because the country has given a lot to us. If you begin to think about the institution where you were trained, like for example, the junior school, the high school, the primary school you have gone to, some of these institutions, including the university that some of us have gone through, are funded by taxpayers. And they take a big chunk of the taxes and put to this institution so that you can able to give back. Now, after going through those training, I feel that you are obliged to give it to a country. You need to be part of that process. It can be hard, but then where you are moving, there are people, there are scholars and others that sacrifice and build the country. But if we all live and think that things will work, it will never work. We should be willing to, at some point in our life, to say that I make this tough decision that I'm going back to my country to partake in the development of the country. Because everybody's talking about the problem, because everybody sees the problem. But who is there to solve the problem if we all leave? So I think we need to look at ways in which our context, our reality may differ, but we should
that's the multi-million-dollar question. Absolutely. John, the conversation is getting interesting, and then we don't have much time. You wear different caps, and your area of expertise is not only higher education but political science, conflict analysis, and diplomacy. Because I call you a diplomat, because that's what you want to be, and that's what you are also. Your PhD focuses on conflict analysis and management. How can Gambian scholars apply these skills to address local challenges, such as political polarization or community dispute, or to foster stability and progress in the country?
Yeah, I think since war is everybody's nightmare, then peace is everybody's business. So I think a divided country cannot stand. One, for me, I think that to have identity,
and as we speak right now, John, your country is so polarized, it's so divided,
Yeah, so it's very unfortunate. Like it's for us, differences are normal, as I used to say. It's different that somebody is black, somebody is white, somebody is Fula, somebody is Manjaro, some is Aku, Kiriol. Those identities, those differences are very normal in society. It's also normal that for people who have different needs and aspirations, it's normal. That differences are normal. But it is not normal when those differences come to a point of contradiction. Because once those differences come to a point of contradiction and they are not well addressed, then comes a conflict, there comes polarization. People will be divided, and then people will begin to see each other as us against them. You see, most of the conversations in the Gambia, national issues, be it in the constitutional building process, be it any other development initiative, you could always see the us and them. And sometimes we pay a lot of loyalty to the group we belong in the face and sacrifices the national agenda. So I think we should begin to look at the broader picture and see the country first than any other thing. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. Countries that end up in either war or violent or whatever, it is like they do not wake up overnight and it starts like that. It's conflict or war or violence. It's like a seed. It's like a tree. A tree does not wake up and then begin to produce bear fruits. It's a seed first, a seed that is planted and nurtured and grow. So that's how conflict are. Like, for example, right now in the Gambia, we could have one of our serious issues, for example, is a land dispute, for example. Now, land disputes are everywhere. Now, but then it's easy to fix because one person will own by one single.
That's a flashpoint for conflict right now.
Exactly. So one particular person, one particular piece of land will be owned by 3-4 people. They get all this document from Alcalo, and all from the institution. How are they going to deal with that? So the simple problems for me, for example, you could have a land register. If your land is sold, it should be marked. You can go to a website and say that this is sold or this is owned. Of course, we respect privacy. We don't want to disclose that this land belongs to John personally, but then we can able to have certain identifier for people to know, people that are buying land to know that this is bought or this is not bought, and that those transparency using the digital technology, it helps. Even our security as well. People are committing crime, going and attacking places. Now, last time I said is that the idea of having checkpoint is obsolete. You don't need that. You only need 10 police officers to secure the whole of Brikama. I'm using Brikama as an example. It could be any other area. They should be able to be mobile. They should be able to have the resources, and the skill set, so to able to do that. But then if you don't, it's a problem. There should be cameras. These are not difficult things to do. Once we have all these things in place, there should be transparency and accountability. Once we have this in place, it's easy for us to address some of our security challenges, because you can easily track people, you can easily hold people accountable because you know who is doing what at any time, And sometimes I always believe that, like, for example, cameras are like, it's like when people are aware that they have been observed, they tend to change their behavior. So now sometimes you build the cameras in the mind of the people. You don't necessarily need to have all the cameras working, but at least have cameras, and people know that there is cameras here. Even where the cameras are not even functional, people will think that they are under surveillance. And I don't say this to suggest that we should have cameras that are default. We need to have all of them that work, so accountability and all that. But then once the citizens begin to grow up with the notion that, if I steal from this shop, I'm being seen. Technically, you internalize that and begin to adjust your behavior because you believe that there is somebody somewhere who is watching you.
John, can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Are you there?
Yeah, very well.
John, are you there? For those tuning in, this is the final take with Seni Marina. We will take a quick break. When we are back, we will continue the season.
Tune into the final take with MK Marina every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Welcome back, wherever you are joining. This is Gambian Scholars in North America. Mr. John, thank you for your brilliant session with me right now. John, diplomacy and multilateralism. You have studied global diplomacy and worked state diplomacy. Minister of Foreign Affairs. How can Gambia strengthen its multilateral organizations like EU, the African Union, and priorities?
Can you say that again? I think I get it, but not too clear.
Do you get my question?
Yeah, we can try it again.
No, I said you work with the Ministry of Foreign. Yeah, I said you have studied global diplomacy and as a state diplomat for the Gambia's Minister of Defense. How can you strengthen diplomatic multilateral organizations like the UN, EU, African Union to advocate for education and development priorities?
Yes, I think it's very important. Of course, I studied.
Did you get my question now?
Yes, I did get your question. I said, of course, I studied diplomacy and I work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I think it's
okay.
Our foreign relation is at the center of our development. One, given that we are a small country, and two, also being part of the global communities. And as the saying often goes, that no state is an island, no state stands alone. It's like no man is an island, no man stands alone. So we need each other. But in that interaction of needs, there is something that we have to bring to the table. Like, for example, when it comes to the Gambia, as far as our diplomacy is concerned, we need to.
Who is in that one? Is it Bob Marley?
Yeah, I think it's Bob Marley, something like that. Yeah, very well. Thank you for that reminder. Yeah, so since the same thing happened to the state, you cannot be in isolation. You need other states, you need corporations. There are wisdom behind that. They believe that, in fact, if nations rely on each other, they barely even fight each other. Like, for example, if Marena depend on me on my water and I depend on Marena on his food, so we barely fight each other, because when I fight him, I will lack water, and if you fight me, you lack food. So that is the real wisdom behind state corporations. So it's like a give and take scenario. And apart from that too, at state level, we need to develop and have the skill set and the manpower that are well trained and skilled, to able to develop, shape and advance our foreign policies, for the interest of our country, be it in education, in agriculture, in trade, and other areas, in our multilaterals and in our bilaterals as well. Now, why it is so important for the Gambia to be a partaker of this international in the international arena and being part of the conversation and the dialogue, because Gambian is a sovereign state and it needs other countries as well. And as a sovereign state, we have advantage and we have also our limitations as well. There are certain things that we cannot able to achieve in the global system, looking at the global power dynamic, because we are small economy, small population. So therefore, we need to operate within the multilateral and regional organizations to able to achieve those benefits for our country. Now, for me, that's why I favor regionalism. Like, for example, it is to the interest of the Gambia for us to have a very strong ECOWAS, Once we have a very strong ECOWAS and subsequently have a very strong African Union, it's easy for us to negotiate. Like we say, after what I often say in negotiation, like we have a negotiator with muscle and a negotiator without muscles, for example. Imagine Gambia have to engage China in bilateral dialogue. There is already a power equilibrium problem. You understand? It's easy for China to get what they want from the Gambia. You understand? It's easy for them. That's why, if like EU, let me use EU as an example. If EU, they have a common trade policies, their external relation as far as trade is concerned, is handled by the EU. Like, for example, if they want to engage with China, Portugal does not go alone and engage with China. It's the union's representative that go and engage with China. The reason why is that it's easier for you to able to push for agenda because you have muscle and there's power balances between those countries. So you can able to push for the interests of the region itself. So Gambia need to, that's why ECOWAS is very important for us. And also African Union is also, our regional bloc is very important for us. So that if we are engaging with our counterpart, if we are engaging with the UK of the European Union, Gambia does not have to go and sit on the table alone. Gambia should, somebody who represents Gambia under the umbrella of ECOWAS, for example, should be able to do that. Once we have that, we can able to shape international relations as a continent, and the trickle-down effect of that is that the whole country will benefit. The country will benefit through that mechanism. So, but once we are divided, these tiny countries, small countries, like the Gambia, Sierra Leone, you name them, going and engaging with big states and big actors, they literally just not going to influence the process and the outcomes the way they should have done if they acted as a team.
Absolutely. John, we almost at the tail end of this interview, although I have a lot of questions because of your area of expertise. Let me ask you this question. Your academic work include a focus on transnational and comparative politics. How can Gambia draw on global best practice in higher education to create a system that prepares students for both local and international challenges?
Yeah, good. I think there are lots of lessons to be learned outside from the Gambia, from the corridors of the Gambia and the corridors of our power. One is we can able to, that's why the international relationship comes into play. The international relation is one of the things that our diplomats and our representative should be able to do is to make sure that they share some of the best practices through their briefings, not only reporting what is existing on the state, but also briefing the state about some of the things that they could do, to serve the best interests of the country. That is trying to expand the role of the diplomat in the 21st century. Now, aside from that too, I do think that there is always what we call institutional partnership. Before, the traditional diplomacy is where state only engage with other state. But now state engage with other states and also create a platform for people to engage with people. That is people diplomacy. An institution to engage with institution. That's why when some government officials, when they are going on a trip, they take businessmen, they take people from the media,
absolutely.
They take people from different areas.
Dr. Mendy.
To create a platform so that they can have those exchange and learn through those best practices.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Dr. John, for those brilliant answers. Finally, vision for Gambia's future. You are visionary, I would say, and then you have a lot of plans with your team to make sure that the Gambia is back, on a strong footing where, we will not need, foreign scholars coming into our country to do the work that our scholars are supposed to do. not because our scholars are not highly sought after, but because our people don't believe in anything Gambian. They believe that being foreign alone is huge thing for them. So now tell me, what role do you envisage for Gambian scholars in shaping a very prosperous and inclusive future for the country, particularly in the areas of democracy, education, and sustainable development?
Yeah, I think there is one clarion call, and the clarion call is for us to give back. And I think he who much is given, much is expected. All the accolades means nothing if they do not translate to impact, if they do not have impact to the ordinary person. And I do think that there's one Chinese proverb. I don't know whether it's a Chinese proverb or another country's proverb, but if the Chinese can take credit, it's fine. They say little things done at little areas combined together make a great impact. So it's like if you're doing your little thing at your area, somebody's doing their little thing in their area, and all of these things are positive. Together, if you combine
do you speak Chinese
I want to
too?
speak Chinese though. I would love to. I have plans to learn Chinese for some reason. Yeah, but so now if you begin to see the world from this spectrum, we will able to appreciate that our collective effort can mean a lot. And as scholars, as I always remind each other, remind colleagues and others, of course, who are more privileged and even more well trained than my humble self, is that we have a responsibility to the community, and we need the community need us, and we need to contribute to the advancement of our community. So I think also our governance part is very important, and I think this is what we really need to take very seriously. As I often say that we have not only a leadership problem, but we also have a followership problem. Yes. Now, how do we shape a new Gambian? It's not about you cannot have a new Gambia without a new Gambian. So you need to shape the new Gambian to able to produce a new Gambia. So now it boils down to the mindset. We need to do more civic orientation, civic training. People should be able to begin to, the spirit of patriotism should be inculcated in our hearts and mind. We should be able to catch our young people young at the right time so that we can shape the kind of Gambians that we want. And apart from that, we should continue this conversation. Right now, I understand that transition is a process. In fact, transitional justice is not just about it's not a project, but it's a process. It's not a project you come and implement today and say, oh, I got the result today and that's it, and it's closed. No, it's a process. It's a process of interacting with your past, coming to time with your past. And what is this past? Your difficult past could be authoritarianism, your difficult past could be underdevelopment, and all of this rift that undermines the country's development. So now, how do we address that? How do we able to change our security? One, security sector reform is one crucial area. You need to have a constitution that able to promote checks and balances, and so accountability, and create space for development. And apart from that, you need to also create an educational system that responds. Like why I was talking the issue of curriculum, that respond to the needs and aspirations of the people. Yeah. And I'm happy that we are really now trying to go into vocation and other areas. And I think this is where we really need to get the Gambians, the real Gambians that will bring change, sustainable change, by getting them young.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Mr. John Mendy, the president of the Union of Gambian Scholars in North America and a PhD scholar, talking to me on the final take live from Ohio, Kent. Mr. John, many thanks for your time. I know we could have discussed more and more because higher education is very broad. And then the role of Gambian scholars, in this case is always interesting to hear their perspective, and then great job with the organization. And I wish you all very best of luck in your effort, to contribute towards the development of our beloved country, the Gambia. And then we will draw the curtain here until next we will as usual, we'll bring you more, high-profile guests who are very conversant with issues in their respective field of expertise. Many thanks once again, John Mendy, for sparing you time out of your busy schedule to join me on this conversation today, Mr. John.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you. You're doing a very great job to the community. And I encourage you to continue doing that wonderful job. And I just, as an ending note, just to encourage everybody, scholars, practitioners, everybody to prioritize country first. And then with that, I think we can do a lot for country, and also we will not be indicted by future generations. Thank you.
Mr. John, someone just commented right now and he said it should start with you. He said, let me ask you to come home and after your studies so that you can come and serve.
I will definitely come home. I always have plans to come. Even when I was in Switzerland, when I was done with my program,
ask him to come back after his studies.
I'll come.
No, let me just pass in that you are our ambassador, so we need you to but you are an ambassador, so we need you here too, to at least, help facilitate that smooth transition for Gambian scholars who want to go back. But the guy said, Mr. President, you need to go back home after your studies. I say, no, he's our ambassador. He has to stay here to facilitate those who want to go home. Anyway, on a serious note, Mr. John, thank you so much for those brilliant expose. And then I'm happy to host you. Hopefully, we will see you soon because I understand that the organization have huge plans to roll out in the coming years. So many thanks once again for coming to the final take, Mr. John.
Thank you so much, and have a nice day, the rest of the day and weekend as well. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's the final take with me on this show. Replay will be on shortly after this. So those who miss it can, catch up on our social media platforms on YouTube.
Tune into the final
Facebook,
take with MK
page.
Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.